Hello, and welcome back to the special re-release of Natalie's Chat with Nat earliest episodes. As you may know, Natalie is taking some time away as she grieves the recent passing of her mom. We are continuing to hold Natalie and her family close during this incredible, difficult season and giving her the space she needs to be present with the people she loves. While Natalie is away, we are revisiting a meaningful conversation with her friend, AnnMarie Entner. AnnMarie is a certified life coach who supports women living with rheumatoid arthritis, drawing from her own experience with the chronic illness, caregiving, and learning to prioritize her well-being. This episode feels especially poignant right now. Natalie and AnnMarie talk openly about caring for aging parents, asking for help, preparing for the future, and the emotional weight that can also come from loving someone through illness and loss. They also remind us that caregiving does not always mean doing everything yourself. Sometimes the greatest gift we can give the people we love is our presence. Whether you're currently caring for a loved one, thinking about your family's future, or simply learning to take better care of yourself, we hope this conversation brings you comfort, encouragement, and a reminder that you do not have to carry everything alone. Here's Natalie's conversation with AnnMarie.
I'm your host, Natalie Keim, and today I'm speaking with AnnMarie Entner, a very good friend of mine. AnnMarie is a certified life coach who specializes in working with women who have rheumatoid arthritis. Having personal experience with this condition, AnnMarie is passionate about empowering and supporting individuals on their journey of self-discovery and personal growth. She believes in embracing pain as a catalyst for personal development and sees challenges as stepping stones towards defining one's path in life. Outside of her career as a life coach, AnnMarie is a loving mother, devoted wife, and proud grandmother. She values family and finds joy in nurturing relationships and creating lasting memories with loved ones. With her compassionate and empathetic approach, AnnMarie helps her clients let go of what has held them back and paves the way for positive transformation and renewed mental fitness. If you're looking for guidance, support, and a partner in your personal development journey, AnnMarie Entner is a trusted ally. Her expertise as a certified life coach, coupled with her experience with rheumatoid arthritis and trauma survivor, makes her well-equipped to help you overcome obstacles and achieve a fulfilling life. AnnMarie, thank you for being here with me today. I'm so excited to spend some time talking with you.
Oh, Natalie, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here also.
Yay. So AnnMarie and I met... Gosh, it's probably been close to 2 years ago through some mastermind groups we're in and some coaches that we've worked with. But we actually met in person last year at a retreat last September and had the absolute best time. And we're going back next month.
Yeah.
So I can't wait. I can't wait.
I'm very excited. I'm very excited. And I believe it's a little bit different. And this year I'm an ambassador. And you're presenting again. So yay.
Yes, it's going to be amazing. So I'm looking forward to giving you a hug in person.
Me too. I'll take it and I'll give it back.
Awesome.
Because we are Mutt and Jeff, right? What you're calling us?
We're absolutely ridiculous. Let's be honest. It's fine though. Everybody needs that excitement at a women's retreat, I think.
Yeah. I agree. You need a goofball, and I'm usually it.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm egging you on, so it's good. It's good.
Not that I need it, but thank you.
So, AnnMarie, I always start off my episodes with an icebreaker question, and I think you've listened to some, so you're probably familiar with the question. But if you could be any superhero, who would you be and why?
Oh, so I think it would be Stretch Armstrong.
Really?
Yeah. And I thought about this. I mean, that's a man, which is weird, right?
But okay.
Being, and much different than where I was probably 2 years ago. Because I always thought we should all be Wonder Woman. But, being that I have a chronic condition, my bones are very stiff a lot of times. And I just wish I could just move so easily. And Stretch Armstrong was a character that was, I think on TV, if I remember correctly. But it was a toy. And I remember pulling it and thinking like,
Mm-hmm.
wow. And I'm back there again. I wish I could just move that easily.
I love that. And you know what? Who cares that it's a guy? The whole point.
Oh, I don't
really
care.
Yeah. And I mean, the point of that question is, I think it gives an insight into who you are based on who you choose, not by, whether they're male or female, tall or short, fly or run fast or whatever it is, but it's their characteristics as an individual superhero. It's, the powers and the way that they use them, but also I think a little bit of their backstory. But I think that's a really good example for you, which I say it every single episode, that the answer always fits so well. And I mean, I can completely understand that for you, knowing your journey and kind of your struggle with that, which let's just jump in there to begin with. Maybe give a little bit of your background from like when you were diagnosed and kind of how that's led you into what it is that you're doing in your coaching.
Absolutely. So for me, it started off in 2019 with my diagnosis, but in 2017, I decided I was going to get healthy. And the definition of healthy is different for everybody, but mine first was to quit smoking, which I did. And then I started running again and being an athlete like I was when I was younger. And I'd done many 5Ks and a 10K. And I was like, I need a challenge. And I started training for a half marathon that was going to be in Savannah, and uh, all going good. I've struggling with aches and pains, but I was an athlete. Broke many fingers, broke toes, bones, all of it. So I talk about the suck it up generation. That's the Generation X. We suck everything up, and I'm on another mission with that one. But that's to come later. I was playing golf for breast cancer, and I came home and my feet were numb, my right foot especially, and it didn't get better. So we went to the doctor and he said, "Oh, it looks like a bone spur. It's just the way it's laying." Great. Did the PT, nothing worked. Got the surgery because you know how insurance works. And I went and had surgery on December 9th. And on December 19th, I got a call back from a pathologist saying it was just a rheumatoid nodule. So I never had a diagnosis like that before. Usually you get it, in the office. But in an instant, my life changed. In that moment, in my house, on my couch, it changed. And my first thought was, I'm going to be a cripple.
Yeah.
I'm not, because I chose a different path of what I thought of afterwards was, how was I going to work at this? I am a risk taker. So I went risky. I did all the, if it was a bad drug, I was taking it. So I take all the drugs my doctors tell me. But what I didn't have was the support.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. Women, especially this generation of the Gen X, we tend to suck everything up and everybody becomes much more important than us. And I got tired. I got tired of not putting me as a priority. I got tired of living in pain. I got tired of all of it. And I didn't have a voice. And I know a lot of us don't have that voice. And working with women, to hear them say that they can't walk up the stairs. Been there. I crawled up mine. I can't go to the bathroom and get that toilet paper. Been there. Have that. And not to have a space or someone to talk to help you say, you're not alone. You get to move forward. You don't have to suck it up, because that's part of what I talk about a lot. And we can change that thought. We are not our disease, for sure.
Yeah.
And we don't have to live that disease, but we can live with it, which is what we're not taught, because everything was sucked up in our life.
Yeah. I love that, because I know, you were really kind of frameworking your business last year when we met in person. And we went a couple days before the retreat. So we really got I think, a full 6 days together. And so there was a lot of time that we got to talk and share about what we do and why we do it. And I know that for you, the catalyst for you stepping into this work was exactly that. There wasn't a community that you found in your throughout your process, throughout your diagnosis, throughout your struggles to manage your arthritis, that where you felt like you could just explain what you were feeling and have people understand it, and that it was openly talked about, you know. And I think that's one of the similarities between what what your personal struggle is and what you coach people through, and where I coach people is finances is not something people typically talk about. And so we had a lot of conversations about how it's time to make sure that people talk about what it is they need, whether it's in regards to something physically challenged, whether it's in regards to something emotionally challenging, whether it's something, about their finances, they're struggling at work, whatever, that those communities are so important. And maybe for that, it comes from the fact that the places that we've interacted and the place we met were communities of women coming together to support one another and building businesses and stuff. And so we got comfortable talking about all of that, and it built from there. I don't know. But I think you're right. It's so important that whatever it is that's on your plate, you find a place that you can set it down for a little while.
Absolutely. I agree with that. And I believe, for you, when I met you, it was all a seed. You plant those seeds. I plant seeds, and we don't have to live like this.
Yeah.
We must put ourselves first. We must make ourselves a priority. We must have a baseline of what we're willing to deal with our pain. Where before was, I can't do that. Especially like when I took care of my mother, I had to draw a line of like, I have RA. If I work too hard, I'm going to make it worse. I didn't want to overwork it. And I think this is where you and I kind of really connected, was I was the caregiver.
Yeah.
And I had to stop in my steps with, I need to get her somebody in my house. I can't do it. I'm important. She's important, but I'm only as good to her as long as I'm taking care of myself first. Hard lesson to go through when you're taking care of someone in hospice. But yeah, it was of many lessons I learned with her, but it was definitely that taught me that I've got to be an RA coach, because we're not putting ourselves first.
Yeah, absolutely. And you touch on an important point there. In several of my episodes, I've talked about the different products that I work with and the different things that they provide, and have touched on, I think it was in episode 3 with Tony Serrano. We really talked about long-term care and living benefits and the importance of them. And what those can provide when you're dealing with a terminal illness, a chronic illness, a critical illness, a critical injury, things like that. And so you kind of bring us to the point of, here you are, you've gotten a diagnosis, you're about, let's see, so last year was 2023. So you're about 3.5 years, right?
I have, it'll be 6 years that I have it.
But I can't add 2019.
That's okay. It's almost 6 years, and never thought about long-term care, which is amazing, until I met you and taking care of my mother.
Well, I mean, that goes back to the fact that we just don't get an education about it. And, so many people think of life insurance only as if you die too soon. And that's where, I do my best to scream from the rooftops and in every avenue that I get the chance to, of how important it is to realize that life insurance is if you live too long, even as much as, if not more than, if you die too soon. And so you brought up the fact that here you are dealing with this chronic condition. So at this point, 4 or 5 years into the process, and you become a caretaker of your mom. So you're managing your own chronic condition. You're realizing you've got to prioritize yourself and get some help with your mom, but you were a full-time caretaker in your home for your mom, correct?
Yes, absolutely. I put everything on hold. Everything was like, even my business, I just stopped. I got certified, stopped, and I was like, okay, she needs me. Again, take none of that back. It was the best thing I ever did, was to have my mom with me for years. Um, but to watch the unpreparedness that she had,
Yeah.
and was pretty devastating. I think that's kind of the word, because I would be like, I would come out of her room going, I don't want to live like this. I don't want to
Yeah.
live like this. I don't want to live like this. I don't want my daughter taking care of me. They can throw me wherever they want. But honestly, I have to be able to put myself in that place. And that was the difference that I learned after she passed, that I have to do that, not my family. I want
Yeah.
to take that burden off of them. And I can't even say that my mother was a burden, but I did worry, like, oh my God, like, how is this going to happen? My mother didn't prepare. My parents didn't prepare.
Yeah.
They didn't prepare for retirement. They didn't prepare for long-term care. I mean, they even did a reverse mortgage on their house. That's a complete shit show. After she passed. So, I mean, it's the no wills, that all of it. If you could think of the worst scenario, I have it.
Yeah.
And then I have my mother-in-law, who did everything from the nines, where, we don't know, she's living in a facility now doing well.
Yeah.
But it's still rough to remember what I did here, what I did with my mom. I don't ever want to do that to my daughter.
Yeah.
And my stepson. I want to make sure that it's taken care of. And I've taken those steps. We've made our will. We've made our plans. We've gotten new investments. We've got the long-term care all set up. But it took being shook.
Yeah.
Being like in a place like, oh my God, I don't want to do that. And you're right. There is no education. Absolutely no education whatsoever. And it's sad
Yeah.
as a woman. And even as a businesswoman, now I'm like, I have to have we're not taught any of this.
Mm-hmm.
We're not taught on how to move forward, take care of ourselves, plan for the future. I mean, I keep telling my daughter, make sure you got all that. And she's like, oh, Mom, don't worry. I got it all. Because not only did she see what I saw with my mother, she saw me not doing it
Yeah.
and was very happy that I did do it.
Yeah.
So, it was a well-rounded lesson. But I won't do the same mistakes. I won't make those mistakes of putting all of it on her. I've got everything going on. And from talking to you were the catalyst of me talking to get my husband on board.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, we had a really great conversation when I met with you and your husband too about just what different options you guys had to look into. And I'm really happy that you guys followed that path and got things set up too. And I think, I want to jump back to where you said, I don't want to be a burden on my daughter. Like, look, there's so many ways that we need to look at the definition of words differently, because there is the negative connotation of burden. Like, I have to do this and I don't want to. There's also the other side where, for me, I have always known that I wanted to take care of my parents in my home for as long as I could when the time came. And yet there's still a burden that comes along with that. And not a burden in the sense that I wish I didn't have to do it, or I resent them, or
the emotional.
Yeah, it's a weight to carry. And that's a definition of a burden, is a weight that you carry. Now, whether it's a weight you choose to carry and you're grateful for, like you mentioned, and like I feel, I'm so grateful that, as their life winds down in some ways, I get to be there for the everyday part of it. And it's coming full circle in life, because as my life was winding up, they were there all day, every day, right? Hands on, making sure I had what I needed when I was little. And so to be able to give that back is a really beautiful thing. And this is a point I want to touch on. And I've said this so many times before, that me saying that is never a condemnation against anyone who chooses not to be a caretaker, because it is not an easy road. And if it is not it's not an easy road when you want to do it. So adding on the fact that you don't feel like you're wired for that, like, it's okay to say I'm not. But even more so in those situations, being financially prepared is so much more important, because, having a family member or taking in a family member relieves some of that financial burden, the everyday living expense, the room and board side of it. But if you're not going that route, you've got to have things set up that can provide that when you need it, in the kind of facilities that can provide every level of care that you're going to need as you decline over time, right? So
absolutely.
So let me ask you this: so your mom was with you for 3 years, but was your thought process, I want to be able to take care of my mom, or did it come from the necessity, or maybe both?
It came from both.
Okay.
It came from sitting on my dad, watching my dad pass, because I took care of him to the end also. And knowing that he gave me a message, not knowing it at the time, but he told me I was strong and I was a good girl and kind and all the things that you want to hear from your parents. But honestly, the way he said strong threw me kind of for a loop, meaning he was giving me a message and I didn't know it. My mom wasn't strong. She couldn't make these decisions, and I had to step in. Not that I made them like, Mom, this is what you're doing. I had to have conversations with her. I had to tell her what was going on with her health. I had my husband help me. So I knew I had to do it. I also wanted to do it.
Yeah.
I am a caretaker at heart. But for me, it was the best. But in the process, knowing I had to take care of myself first, which again, I can't stress enough. If you're going to do that, date nights are very important. Getting out, friends, all of that. I wouldn't take a day back. But I know some people that are not made for that. Like, I'm not made to take care of my mother-in-law.
Yeah.
So, we're just talking flip side. My husband either. We're just, and I mean physically in our home. She's a lot more emotionally needy. My mother was just physically needy.
Yeah.
So there's a difference. Neither one of us could do it. We talked about it, and coming to a place of compassion for both of us and her. We then did the research on where to find the best place for her. Both of us have come from a health field. My husband's in the health field. I've worked in the health field, in facilities. So we both knew what to look for, and we went to many, and she's in the best place for her.
Yeah.
And we still are caring for her. She's just not being cared for in our home.
Yeah. And that's such a good point, because there are levels of caretaking. Like, when you have a loved one that's in a home, in a facility, whatever that looks like, like, caretaking is so many levels. And the basic level of caretaking is just showing up, right? Showing up, visiting, letting them know you're there. Now, there will come a time my mom doesn't remember all of us, likely. But even she doesn't remember, but I think that her soul will always remember, right?
Absolutely.
She'll always know that we're important people in our lives. She may not know exactly our name or the exact relation we have, but I think that the soul remembers. I'm a believer. And so,
absolutely.
Yeah, that's where my faith goes. And so, like, that's the most beautiful part of caretaking, is just showing up. The other part is the work, and the part that gets heavy and feels like a burden. But definitely, if you don't feel like you're wired, if your life is not set up to be able to accommodate that, like, this is your permission slip to hold your head up and not feel guilty about that. Not carry the burden of the fact that that's not right for you. Because if you force yourself into that kind of position, let's be honest, then your loved one isn't getting the care that they deserve, right?
Yeah.
Because there are some amazing people out there, even in facilities. It's not just a job for them. It's not. Unfortunately, there are some it is. And I mean, you can do your research and find horror stories, but if you do your homework, you can find some really great places. And there are, I think, more really special people who knew how to not only meet the needs of the people they're taking care of, but truly learn to love them as individuals. They
No,
stepped
as
into that life.
someone who's worked. So I worked in a senior living, independent, and we had an Alzheimer's unit. So it was kind of, like an assisted living place.
Yeah.
It was like a bunch of grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
I loved going to work. I loved every bit of it because I didn't have grandparents I had grandparents that had passed, and then the ones that I didn't know. My grandmother lived in California, and back in the 80s, we didn't fly as frequently as we do now. So, it was just phone calls. So I didn't really know her, but I fell in love with every one of them. I enjoyed going to work. What I didn't enjoy about the work was them passing.
Mm-hmm.
And which each one that passed, I took it even harder. So even though I loved it, I loved every aspect of it, I couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
I still talk very lovingly about it was the best. I mean, going on these trips, I went to New York City with some of them. We would have dance parties. I mean, there's so much, and they're doing more now in these places than they did when I was there.
Yeah.
So it's more community. Like when I go to my mother-in-law's, I see a community,
Mm-hmm.
which is really nice.
Yeah.
And like my husband went today, and he's like, "Oh yeah, she was out there today." So we don't know who we're going to see when we go there.
Yeah.
Is she going to be spot on, or is she not going to be spot on? There's more not so spot on, but having her here, and she's she's very stubborn, and she would do what she wants. That would be part of the burden I couldn't handle.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's different too, when it's your parent even versus your in-laws, right?
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. But the difference is she needed to be entertained.
Mm-hmm.
I can't entertain. I'm not a facility.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was that. So making a decision for her to go to a place was the best decision for her.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I think, I felt good about. He felt good about. And the fact that she set herself up. I mean, she set herself up for this. I mean, it's amazing. My mother couldn't afford to go to a place like that. She didn't have the money.
Yeah.
She did.
Yeah.
I mean, she's set for life. I mean, she could be there for another 10 years and be fine.
Yeah. Well, and that's the flip side of what we talked about of being prepared, right? Is knowing that, and for my parents, they stayed in the home that my brother and I grew up in for 43 years or so. And so at the time that they sold it, the increase in value was crazy, but we were able to, because their income in retirement is enough that they don't need that right now. We were able to put that place in places that it can continue to grow and be protected until they do need it. And so it's going to be able to provide all those options for them when the time comes, because as much as I wanted to be the caretaker, there will come a point that I can't do everything they need. And so then it's okay, do we need something in home, but on more of, a nursing level and that kind of care level? Or, is it looking for a facility where they could both go together? Because I know my dad would be with her,
Right.
And
so
there
are facilities like that, which
absolutely.
which is where I worked. That was the first time I had ever seen something like that. A couple shared a room together. One didn't need the care, and I remember Mrs. Noodleman. I mean, she was a hoot. But she was very much, she had dementia, and she started having strokes, and it was hard on him. He stayed in that. And by the way, she passed. This is what I found so amazing was she passed and he stayed in assisted living, and he didn't need it because he stayed around to help the other women. Yeah. It was beautiful. It was so beautiful.
Yeah. Well, that became his community, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which is what we all talk about, community.
Yeah. And when we were going through this process and having the conversation with my parents, going back and forth and getting all the paperwork we needed to have done, put in place, taking care of, running their estate sale, getting their house on the market, all of those things. As I was going through these processes, I had some of those conversations with my son. Now, my son was probably 20 or 21 at the time. And we were having these hard conversations about what paperwork do we need to have in place and getting all of that taken care of. And he said to me, Mom, I love you, but I'm never going to take care of you. And I said, you know what, buddy? I love the fact that you felt like you could tell me that.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I don't want you to, because you can be a little absent-minded. And that was really a joke. In all honesty, my son is amazing, and I know he would absolutely do the best he could. But I'm so grateful that for whatever reason, based on our relationship over time or whatever it was, he felt like he could tell me that. And I said, here's the thing. I am setting everything up so that when I'm ready, I don't want the responsibility of the house anymore. I just want to be able to travel and hang out with my friends and things like that. Then I'm going to put myself into one of those communities. So somebody else takes care of the things I don't want to. I get to hang out with my friends. They do amazing trips all over the world in these communities. They have activities all the time. And who knows, maybe I'll get to that point when I'm still driving and all of that stuff. I just don't have to worry about the day-to-day responsibility of managing a home and all of that. And so I got a little condo in a retirement community that has the ability to provide more if and when the time comes that I need it. But I get to be a part of a community again of people in the same place in life that I am, and, build those relationships and enjoy that. So who knows what that'll look like or when the time comes, but I was able to tell him, don't worry about it, buddy. Everything's going to be set up. And, my only request was that, he keeps me nearby so he can come and see me. And I said,
that was mine too.
Yeah. And
mine
again,
too.
I went back to that is the most important part of caretaking, is the showing up part, not having them in your home, not being able to, manage all of their medicines, their physical care and all of that. It's the showing up. It's the being present. I think it's the most important. And I think oftentimes it's what gives those people on the other side of that situation that spark for life.
Right.
And keeps them here for
I mean, my mother-in-law is 95.
Yeah.
She is.
I
So
remember
we put her.
that.
Yeah. So we put her. I keep saying put. We found her a place. I don't like that we put her in. Like we didn't have a choice. We did have a choice. Of where she was going. We did say to her, "You can't go home anymore." But I totally lost my train of thought with that. But oh, she's 95. We don't know how long she's going to live, but she is living a better life today than she was 6 months ago in this facility.
Yeah. And that's a good point, right? So she was still on her own until that time came, right? So, I mean, think about that. Independently living on her own in her home until almost 95 years old. And then being able to still have a say about what was best for you. I think that would be my dream. I'll live as long as I'm supposed to stay on this earth. I just want to have as much of my capacities as I can. And so for her to be able to do that at 95 is a really beautiful thing. And the other thing
it's interesting to watch. I will tell you that much. So she went from, we didn't really know how she was declining because she wasn't living close to us. And last year at this time, we bought her a house to be near us. And we actually got to see it. And even though we were going to visit her, she had a lock, she had to let us in. We didn't see exactly what was going on, but she could get herself together before we got there. When she was literally a quarter of a mile down the road from us and we popped in, we started to see
Mm,
And that's showing up, right? Showing up. We were
yeah.
seeing on a more consistent basis what was happening. So my husband and I were already having these conversations before,
Yeah.
and planning the course of how are we going to have this conversation with her, because there's going to be pushback.
Yeah. Well,
You
I
know,
think like one of the things you touched on a few minutes ago is you said it was something that you and your husband both felt really good about it. And that's what
yeah.
it comes down to is feeling feeling good about it. Like giving your permission to set
Mhm.
your boundaries wherever they are, because that means you can show up the best wherever it is you're able to show up. But to be able to feel good about the way that you move forward in a situation like that is so, so important.
Yes. Um, and I think as a mother, and I'm sure you can relate this, you said you set yourself up, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know my daughter will want to help me, but you know what? I don't want her to have to help me. I want her to show up what she can.
Yeah.
And um, that's the gift I want to give her, is that if she wants to go full on, that's great. If she wants to visit me in a nursing home, that's great too. I mean, that's kind of how I looked at it after all of that I've been doing for the past 10 years, taking care of my in-laws and my parents.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know,
Just giving them options, right? Just to have the option to make different choices is important, I think, in any situation, but especially when it comes to something like this. You know,
yeah.
what and sometimes too, I think, I feel really blessed. I feel lucky that my whole dream and desire to take care of my parents someday came to fruition, but there could have been a circumstance that took it out of my hands, right? A
Right.
health situation to where there was no place for me to fit in the middle there because, there was a stroke or something severe that I just couldn't provide it, and it couldn't be provided in a home in a way that made sense. And so as much as that was my plan, circumstances could have taken that away. And that's where being prepared and having things lined out so that you can pull whichever lever it is you need to pull along the way, you have the ability to pull it. And you don't have to worry about the financial aspect of it. There's always going to be an emotional aspect of it, especially if it goes
Mm.
differently than you thought it would. But I think that can be eased a bit when preparation exists, right?
And I am a huge, and I never realized how much I am about this now. Everything needs to be prepared, because we
Yeah.
don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Exactly.
that's what I have learned. My mother wasn't strong enough to figure it out. Not that I made her decision. I just kind of planted seeds,
Yeah.
because I was able to do that. I wasn't telling her she had to do, and this is what you need to do. I'm like, all right, she had to see her own mortality. The difference with my mother is my mother-in-law, she doesn't see her own mortality. She thinks she's going to live to 500, and Moses is still going to come and take her somewhere, I'm like, all
Hey, you
right.
never know. You never know.
But yeah, I mean, my mother knew her destiny, what was going to happen. I mean, she herself had a chronic condition. She had, COPD, and um, she knew it was coming. My mother-in-law is not seeing it.
Yeah.
And that was the difference in taking care of them. Because I would be like, you do realize that, you're 95. I mean, and she'd be like, but I don't feel like it. And I'm like, okay, but I can still do what I want to do. And I'm like, you're really not, but okay. Like in my head, I would never say
Yeah.
it to her. But, where my mother was like, well, I just pray that I'm here another day.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it was completely different.
yeah. I definitely think there's a difference, in the personalities too. And I think I believe that the closer you get to that time, more of that likely comes into clarity for sure. Um, so I want to kind of jump back to, we talked a little bit about what not being prepared for looks like, and how you're doing things differently. We talked about that, but your mom was with you for 3 years. How much of that time were you the hands-on everyday caretaker before you were like, I can't do it all anymore, and even begin to take care of myself?
2 years.
Okay. So 2 years you managed it all. And then that last year,
I saw the decline in her, and I knew I couldn't do it all. I physically couldn't do it all because of the pain. My husband worked. He was traveling a lot. So it was on me. I just couldn't do it. I
yeah,
just couldn't do it. And something clicked at me. I don't know, the coach in me, maybe. I don't know. Was like, all right, you need to stop because you're not helping her. But it was hard for me to do what I had to do. I had to back away.
yeah. You had to give control. You had to give away control.
I had to back away with, I would say that she wanted me and only me. And I loved that part of it. Like, I loved that she just wanted me. But, I had to be like, Mom, you need to take a shower. And she's like, we'll do it later. And it was hard to breathe. So it would be getting harder and harder and harder. And it was harder on me physically. And I was like, I just can't do it, Mom. And I would just let it go further and further and further until she finally agreed. I need help.
Yeah.
Which I already had somebody on speed dial. She just didn't know. Like, okay, it's good.
You were prepared. But here's the thing about that, where I was going and going back to this conversation is this is part of what we got to talk about when we had one-on-one time together last year. About where I was in the caretaking journey and what you had been through, because you lost your mom just a couple of months before that last year. And what I remember so vividly as you and I were talking is you would share with me the times that once you had that care come in, that were things you could no longer do. You got to just be present, that you would go
Absolutely.
and you'd watch shows with her and you got to just enjoy being there with her. And somebody else took care of her needs, but you just got that time. And I remember you saying that, sometimes she would call for you and she'd just want you to sit and watch a show with her.
I do it.
You'd go in there and just sit there and have a conversation with her. And how beautiful that must have been to not have, you carried the burden as long as you could, but then to set down the burden and just be able to be present. And you were able to still keep her in your home until she was, correct?
Yes, I was able to, because I was able to get hospice for her. And I had to talk her, I had to explain, because everybody has a really bad idea of what hospice is.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks that hospice comes in and you're getting ready to die. My mother could have had hospice 2 years prior. She needed palliative care. She was never getting better. My sister thinks that. My sister's in the healthcare field. She thinks hospice is that they kill you. I had to say, no, it's just loving care. They're coming in. But having someone come in at that time was, I had my daughters, we had people from outside help us. Our sister-in-law helped. She was a PT and she would come and give her bath, so I didn't have to do it. Sit with her, did her hair, the whole 9 yards. I was doing all of it. But when I got to release all of it, again, there's that weight that you're just losing, and it feels good. But the time I spent with her, I slept in her room with her.
Yeah.
And all the pictures have been coming up of me just taking pictures of her watching television. And I can almost guarantee you that it was the Hallmark Channel. And it was some kind of, happy ending story, because my mother only liked happy endings. And I had a happy ending with her here.
Yeah. And I think that's really beautiful that you got that time, you got that happy ending. And I'm sure in some ways, maybe that made some pieces of it harder, grieving that loss, because you got to just be with your mom, not as a caretaker, as a daughter. And also the flip side of, so I guess maybe a double-edged sword. On one side, you got that time, which brought you closer, and you got to just be her daughter and love on her before she went. And then the flip side of that is that because you got that closeness in that time, that grief is even more difficult.
It is. It is difficult. It's I'm in her room. So she's with me every day. And I cry about it. Just watching her at the end, she wasn't ready.
Mm-hmm.
She mentally wasn't ready, but her body was just done.
Mm-hmm.
And watching someone with their body just giving out, it changes your perspective on what you want in life, which made me even stronger with what my plan in life is. But she sucked up a lot and put us first and did other things. But for 8 years, she took care of my dad and not her own health. That's the part that I learned the most about. Because right until when my father died, she got sick. Or I should say sicker. So having that time alone with her and having a nurse here checking on her, me not having to worry about her meds and ordering them, and it took that responsibility off my shoulders. And that was the gift I gave myself by having the conversation with her.
Yeah. No, I think that's really beautiful. And thank you for, being vulnerable and sharing all of the sides of that. There's a lot of times that I share that part of my story. I share about my parents, and it will get emotional too. And I'll be on a Zoom with a client talking about the importance of long-term care living benefits. And when I explain firsthand why it's so important to me and why I'm so passionate about it, I'll walk down that little path a little bit, get a little emotional, get a little choked up. But that's what makes it real, and sometimes helps the message to reach whoever needs to hear it from listening to this episode. So I appreciate that. I want to kind of circle back to you now in focusing on your care and what you need. You're building a business to support other women, but you are walking the walk on an ongoing basis. We talked just before we got on the call that you are in a multi-week flare with your rheumatoid arthritis. And last fall, when we first talked after meeting in person in September, I think it was October-ish, and I sat down with you and your husband. We went over some different things, and I know there was a possibility he felt like that he could be losing his job. And then it was about a month, maybe 4 to 6 weeks later, maybe not even that long, 3 or 4 weeks later, we met back up, and
it was imminent.
Yeah, he had been notified it was coming. And I know for you that was a big fear because you're not 65, you're not on Medicare yet, so you don't have that guaranteed care and those things in place that you need, but you require a lot medically for your condition. And so here you were facing, okay, if he loses his job, we lose our insurance. How do I get the kind of insurance I need? What does that look like? How much is that going to cost? And we looked at, the cost of Cobra and all of that. Will you share just a little bit about maybe that process?
I guess for me, I went to pure panic. I mean, if you remember, I called you immediately, like, what am I going to do? I need health insurance. And I knew in the back of my head that I would have Cobra. But what if my husband didn't get another job?
Yeah, Cobra's expensive.
BF, very big.
Yeah.
Big. Oh. And we went online. We were looking at places to go. My doctors are not in my state of Pennsylvania. And if you go on like state insurance, I got to go to state doctors.
Yeah.
Which I was not happy about because my doctors are amazing. So the fear and the anxiety and the overwhelm built more and built more and built more. And I had to step away. I had to take a pause because I was doing myself no good, absolutely no good in that. And I had to put myself in a place of, my husband's awesome. He'll get that job. My business isn't big enough or bringing in enough to cover my self-insurance, to be a self-insured like that. And he didn't get a job until May. I mean, like, that was like, I think it was like January that he found out, and May.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't, so Cobra, we spent a lot of money on Cobra. I could have taken a very nice vacation, but there's always something at the other end if you just release it.
Yeah.
And I had to release it. I had to believe that something was going to happen. And I had a timeline of like, well, if something doesn't happen by a certain amount of time, and it was August, and it's already August, that I would have to go on state insurance. Not that I wanted to, it was kind of what it was. And I would figure it out. And that's kind of how I look at everything with my chronic condition. I can figure it out. Not that I'm possible or I'm a badass. I get to figure it out, because when you have a chronic condition, I was in remission for a year. It's back with a vengeance.
Yeah.
So you don't know. You just don't know. So if you're not prepared, and we weren't prepared, so it threw me into, let's get prepared.
Yeah.
On top of what my mother did. And it put me in, we were talking about it, but it threw us into the, let's get it done now.
Mm-hmm.
And if I had a message for anybody to hear from me, don't wait.
Yeah.
Do it now. Do it now.
Yeah, absolutely. Because here's the thing too, is there's the get prepared by, hey, look, there are, there's all kind of products out there that can provide the option to get care, right? So, I mean, and the thing is, you were already diagnosed with this. So not already having a chronic illness plan in place, it's really difficult to qualify for one once you've already been been diagnosed. It's near impossible to. Now, there are products that have some other options that can fill in the gaps in different ways, which thank goodness for that. What a blessing that there are those in place. But that's where being prepared, not just with the kind of coverages that can take care of that, but what if something happens to your coverage, like your medical coverage? You're not even close to Medicare yet. And so,
and who knows what the age is going to be by the time I get there.
Yeah, exactly. And so when you look at that, it's the being prepared from a financial perspective overall, that you have the means to tap into if you had to for Cobra coverage. And even in that, there was a time frame that, hey, if it gets to this point, we're going to have to go in another direction, but I can't control that. So right now I'm going to surrender to what is. I'm going to take advantage of the resources we do have. And if it comes to that, it comes to that. And we'll go down that road. And that's where being prepared in regards to anything in life gives you options.
Yeah.
It just gives you options. So whether it's financial preparedness, health coverage preparedness, critical and chronic illness preparedness, when you set yourself up, you just have different options. And yeah, sometimes it's still not going to bridge the entire gap, but when you step back, you were able to say, okay, here's the time frame for this, and then we go to this. And, like you said, if we get to that point, it just is what it is. Right. And, that's the path I've got to walk for a little while. But you guys had enough in place that it ended up getting you where you needed to go.
Yeah. And it wasn't like we didn't have anything, but it was, like money wise, but it was more, we didn't have it allocated correctly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what it came down to. And even now that everything's better, I mean, we're talking about getting a secondary for me. I'm like, maybe we should get me a secondary. And he's like, that's a good idea. Because my medication is expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows? Like, I get a coupon. They give you a copay coupon. That could be taken away tomorrow.
Yeah. And that's
what do I do then?
That's such another good point, is that even if you have the best medical coverage, even if you have things in place for when you need more extensive care, whatever that looks like in your situation, you could still be on medications that are hundreds of dollars a month, even though you have
mine's
insurance.
$5,000 a month.
There you go.
And my insurance paid so much. And then there's a copay. And then and then there's my part. Like
Yeah.
they have a better, the company itself had a copay program or a coupon program, which most people don't know. And if you're ever on a specialty drug, I'm throwing this out there, you need to find out who makes your drug and see if they have a coupon for you. No one tells you that.
Yeah.
There's a manufacturer's coupon that you can use. My girlfriend who's a pharmacist told me.
Yeah.
So I'm letting everybody know there's help out there. I mean, even I just did for your eyes. I forget what it's called, dry eye syndrome. There's a copay coupon for that too. So instead of paying the $300 that costs a month, I'm getting it for $30.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's where I'm definitely looking a lot differently at how I look at life.
Yeah. Well, and
I had a lot of things in play, like losing my mother and her not being prepared, my mother-in-law being over-prepared and being okay with where she went, my husband losing his job. We have extra house that we have. We don't want to waste our money. We want to be more fiscally mature.
yeah.
Yes, would be or accountable.
Yeah. Well, and at the end of the day, too, like you still want to be able to live life and enjoy it too.
Yes.
Right. So even if you're prepared, but if you have to put all your money towards that, then, you don't get to travel, or you don't get to do the things with the grandkids, with your daughter and things like that are so important to you.
That's why I do it now.
Yeah.
I'm making, I've been saying this a lot now. I am making memories today for when I'm gone, that when they think about me, they're going to remember that I was a fighter.
Yeah.
And that nothing stopped me from living life to my fullest with a chronic condition.
I love that. One thing I want to share is we touched on the prescription thing. If you are on a prescription like that, you can go to GoodRx and you can look up the name of your prescription. You can find out who the manufacturer is if you don't know. And there's oftentimes links in there that will take you right to those manufacturers' websites where you can look up what kind of programs they might have. And there's usually a form or application process where you can just right through their website, submit information to get that help. So it's not a nightmare process, believe it or not. But there are definitely a lot of those benefits that are available to me. I'm
the
glad
first time you do it, I will say
that.
the first time you do it, it's nerve-wracking and it feels like it takes forever. After that, it's a breeze.
Yeah. Then you know what to do, right?
Yeah. Well, the option, press 1, press 2, but it's fine. It works. And honestly, no one tells you that. In the doctor's office, they don't tell you that. And I don't know why.
Yeah. I have my ideas of why, but that's a whole other conversation we don't have time for.
That's a sidebar.
Yeah. Well, as we wind down, AnnMarie, again, thank you so much for taking the time to be here to share some of your story. My goal with my podcast is to educate people as much as I can, but there's maybe book learning or book education, right? The facts and the figures and the things like that I can share. But I'm grateful to be able to have you come on here, somebody that's struggling with your own situation, as well as having been a caretaker, that can tell a real life story different than mine or in addition to mine, because not every situation's the same. So I'm incredibly grateful to have you spend some time with me today talking about all this. As we wind down, anything else you want to share before we go? And also, how can people reach out to you if they're looking for some help going through something similar as to what you are?
Well, you can always go on my webpage, which is lifecoachingforchange.com. But you can see me living life on Instagram. And that would be at RA_warrior.advocate. I share all things, good and bad. And Facebook, also just my name, AnnMarie Entner. And soon to be, I'll be on my own podcast and educating and hearing stories of other women that have a chronic condition, any kind of autoimmune or pain, because we need to be heard.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll have all those links of where you can find AnnMarie in the show notes. So you can definitely look there for those. You can always reach out to me directly and I can put you in contact with her. But AnnMarie, I cannot wait to see you again next month and get back up to our shenanigans. Keep the house exciting at this beach vacay. So anyway, thank you guys for listening, for joining us today. I'm your host, Natalie Keim, and I look forward to continuing to bring you amazing content each week that will educate you, support you, and most importantly, help you to find financial freedom. I look forward to having you listen each week and learn in future episodes. So until then, take care and stay safe.